Hold up. It seems like y'all can't hear that audio. Let me fix that real quick. One, two, 1, 2. Let me fix that. I don't know what I have to do with it. Let's start that over.
I've been bout my papyrus since I've been in it. Put me in the debate, you know I'm gon' win it. If I scream black power, don't get timid. If I say black city, I'm talking about Kemet. If I say black city, I'm talking about Kemet. Primary research and we done pushed it to the limits. All you dudes finished. The king counting cattle up with brother Reggie. When I'm in Oakland, smoke spoken, bro, they love the Chevy. Back in the day, it was the spokes on the chariot. Long procession when the king got carried out to every spot. Woman looking nice as ISIS. I read ancient texts, so my advice is priceless. Nubian gold, your ice don't entice us. Beating me harder than counting grains in your spices. Your heart was beating, but your brain dead. You're lifeless. Yo, they ain't nothing like us, yo. Don't try to make me mad. Make me smile and say you love me, man. That's real right there. Come on. You should listen to your main man's advice. Do a YouTube and apologize like Dice. Or the back fade coming like the Antichrist. Egyptologists see me reading and said that I'm nice. I got a speller with your name on it. I'm like Sargon. You the type of dude wake up in your car gone. Told, cause of the money you owe. Before you stream, you should clean up that humble abode. Like Akhenaten City for my woman in gold. I keep the pseudos running, people coming in droves. You catch me on a live stream with Pan-African James. When we building, call us by our African names. I'm for the children. And ain't nothing happened to change. We on that black hype, so we still packing them things for protection. Got connections, got connections. My complexion, pure black, that's the essence. You love me? Show me some love. Alright.
What up, what up? How y'all doing? Play this up one jam, let's get into it.
Yeah, and I'ma work cause I ain't going out lazy, bruh. Thought he was conscious, but the homie just played me, bruh. The house of consciousness is going out crazy, bruh. They crazy, bruh. Alright, it's getting kinda dirty in these YouTube streets. The Amara squad, God thinking you dudes weak. Islam or Judaism, where you learn what you dudes teach. The West African rapper slapping with that voodoo speech. All that sub-Saharan terror about a cuckoo feet. I'm like Norma, that agricultural farmer that grew you wheat for the storehouses. We feed the Hebrews and lead the people when we defeat the feeble. They wanna know polite rip me off, but Sonetta paid me my money though, that mean he 100. And I'ma work cause I ain't going out lazy, bruh. Thought he was conscious, but the homie just played me, bruh. The house of consciousness is going out crazy, bruh. They crazy, bruh. Nubian with the Jews, I rock the pinky. I think Jesus got to save me, a doctor save me, a doctor inky. I cop the copper jewels, I'm blue and red. I'm not the chakra doctor y'all claim woke, but you in bed, you won't pop a chopper, you Grandmaster J. You just talking. Punks turn the other cheek and you will walk away. Y'all gon' have to pardon my Moorish. That's Taharka Bay. I'm on that black African power on my darkest day. And that's my brother Ankh stomping them other punks. We brought them gators to Italy, you loving the Moors. And now I'm teaching from my shrine like brother Jabari. Scoping the savannah cause I'm on another safari. Tasha K showed us Frank record. Young Pharaoh just losing his mind and y'all can't help him. I know one thing, you're a fool if you're still out here donating to Umar school, that shit through. And I'ma work cause I ain't going out lazy, bruh. Thought he was conscious, but the homie just played me, bruh. The house of consciousness is going out crazy, bruh. They crazy, bruh. Look, you showing your hidden colors like
Man, I hear some people saying rest in peace to Saafir in the chat. I got a message from some people saying that he probably wouldn't make it through the weekend. And that is a sad, sad, sad moment. Rest in peace. I don't know if people know why people saying that on my page is because me and Saafir had a long history. And I'm just glad, before what this happened, we was able to chill and work on music. He was at my album 25th anniversary album party and all that. So that's sad to hear that happened. If y'all don't know what we're talking about Harold from Menace to Society. Y'all remember that movie? Let me see. I'm going to play a little bit of this. This is me and him battling raw footage in 1994. And this is a video on my page that y'all can watch. It got one of the most views out of all the videos on my page. But it is a documentary called The Battle.
Being, kind of
Casual and Saafir. And I'm just going to play a second of it since he passed. Just so we can see. This was monumental.
We really got about 200, so y'all want to bring your asses on up.
Hey, yo, send somebody downstairs right now, B.
All right.
All right, man.
I remember when Hyro battled Hobo Junction.
I mean, battling was just a part of the landscape, is what you had to be prepared to do.
At that point in time, we was paving the way. We was bringing back the confrontational hip-hop.
There was a lot of friction brewing between Hobo Junction and hieroglyphics back then.
So the battle between Busy Bee and Kool Moe Dee had a different tenor than the battle between Hyro and Hobo. It was personal, and there was like legitimate beef behind it. Like, let's take this to the streets beef. In fact, there was a little bit of that night. It got all tense.
Keep it real, baby. All right? You know what I'm saying? Yo, water!
That whole thing.
That's the fear right there. Rest in peace.
It wasn't really even about Hobo Junction and hieroglyphics, man. It turned into that, you know what I mean? That was really something between me and Cass.
But I felt they were all from the same movie.
So I'm going to do a video later and talk about that. But I just got the news right in the chat. So I just wanted to play that. Let me see.
Area.
This is a video I wanted to share today and have us discuss some of the stuff that they talk about in this video. It is shout out to Yuri for sharing this video with me. The archaeological landscape of Gebelein in Egypt. So we talk a lot about the first intermediate period and the Nubians in the area below Thebes. And that's some of what he's about to talk about. So shout out to y'all. Shout out to the channel members, everybody in here early. Make sure y'all say something in the chat so we can get this going. Have another nice show.
Concerned with sources related to the highest echelons of the society, people who are literate or to whom the literate sources, textual sources were referring to, people who are subject of iconographic depictions. And in a result, we know actually very little, the large part of the population, which was illiterate, which was not related to the capital, escapes us from the view of ancient Egyptian civilization. So our sources are concerning only the 1, 2, maybe 3% of the entire population of the country of the pharaohs, and also this upper class, upper stratum of the society constructed the narration and made the sources from which we are trying to reconstruct something like 90% of the population of the country. Of course, my research and talk today is not aiming to change this optic, this point of view. It's impossible at this state of the research, but I just wanted to let you know what is the how important it is to study provincial areas, because they provide us more information about the lower social groups in the society. Also, it is impossible to present history of Gebelein sufficiently through all periods of ancient Egyptian history. So I need to make numerous shortcuts, abbreviations, generalizations, and I would like to focus on 4 selected aspects of Gebelein.
All right, I want us to look at his map, his pyramid real quick. It says pharaoh, government officials, soldiers, scribes, merchants, craftsmen, farmers, slaves. What would be the ancient Egyptian names for all those terms? Well, not to go through all of them, when we get down to the level that's above the scribes, the merchants, the craftsmen, and the farmers and the slaves, we got the soldiers. Now, there was no term actually for police. And so they say the term magi that we know became synonymous with police. That might be not true, but that's what Egyptology says. If we consider that, they wouldn't fall in the ranks of scribes, merchants, craftsmen, or farmers or slaves. They'd be up here, soldiers. Right below the government officials, these quote-unquote Nubian mercenaries that we're hear about in this presentation.
First, I will speak about Gebelein during the state formation in the 4th millennium BC. Then I would like to make a big jump and skip the Old Kingdom and go to the first intermediate period, during which there were numerous Nubians in that area, and we can study ethnic diversity of this region. It's important to underline where.
So when they point out that there's Nubians in the region, and then next want to point out the ethnic diversity, it would be safer to point out some cultural diversity and stop trying to parse out these Nubians that was right there in Egypt always as another ethnic group, as they were part of the ethnic group that made the contingency that set up Egypt. It was set up below Gebelein and Tasseti. Wars between the Kata and people around the first Nome area, as they often tell us.
And that when we are speaking about different ethnic groups in Egypt, we are tending to divide them into Egyptians, Nubians, Libyans, basically Egyptians and non-Egyptians. But we are, I think, never speaking about people who has mixed origins, people who are kind of ambiguous, who do not have, whose ethnicity is binary, that can be mixed like Egyptian and Nubian. Then after this, we will make another big jump to the New Kingdom, where I'd like to focus on religion, the local temple, and the religious landscape, as well as popular or vernacular religious activities. And from there, we will make another much bigger jump to Greek-Roman period, or actually to the Ptolemaic times. And this will conclude the talk. So when we are speaking about provincial areas in Egypt, it is very often a case that very little was published about provincial sites like Hosam or Rizekat. Like Rizekat is a very good example. It is a site, a cemetery located about 13 kilometers north of Gebelein, and it was researched by several scholars, and none of them published a single report or a longer description of the site. While capital areas like Thebes, Memphis, Abydos, Recompolis are suffering from overextension of, well, overdose of publications, and they're very well published sites. Well, maybe not in every aspect, but usually we have a reasonably good knowledge about them. Gebelein is something in between those two ends of the spectrum. There are some publications, but they are usually not sufficient. If you're going to research a provincial site and you are not finding any good publications, you are sooner or later coming across numerous unpublished data, like unpublished field reports, drawing, accounts of travelers, images, and numerous artifacts distributed among numerous museums around the world. Then if you will go to the site in the field, you can try to find traces of what was documented previously, find new things, and thanks to this, try to reconstruct the extent of the site, its structure, locations of individual structures, archaeological features, and then try to reconstruct the history of the site. And this allows us to actually reconstruct the history, well, at least try to do the hypothetical reconstruction of the history of the local population. And this is my aim for the research at Gebelein. I would like to make a comprehensive examination of all the, well, comprehensive study that will be featuring all the important, well, it will present all the evidence related to Gebelein that will allow us to reconstruct the local provincial history. Of course, I'm not the first scholar who is conducting research related at mountains, which you can see here.
I just want to skip to this.
In front, you can see the bigger Western Mountain, and further by the horizon, you can see the smaller Eastern Mountain of Gebelein. The bigger Western Mountain is bordering with the Sahara Desert, while the southern one is bordering with the Nile. The ancient Egyptian name of that area, Inerti, also meant two rocks. And let's see the general appearance or topography and distribution of the most important archaeological sites in that area. Starting from the north, there was the town of Sumenu, somewhere north from the western mountain of Gebelein. We do not know its exact location. The location of the town was changing through pharaonic history. South from it, there was the northern necropolis, stretching along the foot and northern slope of the western mountain. South of it, there were numerous outcrops of chert and limestone, basically covering a large part of the western mountain. There is one cultic structure carved into the rock dating to the pharaonic times in the northern part of the western mountain, and its southern tip there is a Coptic rock-cut chapel. In the central area of Gebelein there is the central necropolis, covering large, like few hundred meters from south of the mountain to its middle. Many tombs were later reused by Coptic monks, and the cemeteries very much disturbed. East of it there was the town of Per-Hathor, which is also known under its Greek name Pathiris. There are also some cultic structures over there, like temple and rock-cut chapel dedicated to Hathor. Then going south, there is the southern necropolis dating to the late Old Kingdom and the first intermediate period, and west of it, a Muslim necropolis tentatively dated to Fatimid times. The history of research of that area is...
So it's about 20 minutes till we start talking about the people. Again, the video is called The Archaeological Landscape of Gebelein. if you want to check it out without me skipping through it.
Was not the case. Or and the historiography of Predynastic or early Egypt is dominated by those three important centers. Of course, they were very important, but they are considered as Predynastic capitals of proto-states, partly because...
So, basically, I skipped forward, so let me just give you an update of what's on the screen. Three centers, Abydos, Nakata, and Heracleopolis. But I think we would probably be talking about right by Thebes, right? So let me see what that is. I know he ain't talking about hella far up on the map. Let me just get the known map. Damn, they almost got me. Let me see. He ain't talking about this one way up there. That's Heliopolis. And I know he's not talking about this other Heracleopolis. Nope, we're going way down here. All right, so that's the third known. So we talking about Nicaean. All right. Just to be clear. So let's get back. Yeah, thank you, Pooh.
Because they were very well, the results of the excavations were very well published. In contrast to other provincial sites, like you can see an example of publication from Hierakonpolis, where sufficient plans, drawings, and images of artifacts were published, but in the case of Gebelein and other provincial sites, this was not the case. Already numerous scholars who were very good experts expressed their thoughts that Gebelein was very important, one of the key sites to understand early history of Egypt. It is important to mention that Ernesto Schiaparelli wrote that Gebelein was actually the first site first large site which provided numerous predynastic artifacts. And also Georges Darcy expressly said that Gebelein should be counted among the most important sites, but unfortunately previous scholars were not publishing the results of their work in a sufficient extent to verify this. So scholars before were usually knew Gebelein only through artifacts. Also the general public knows about Gebelein through other artifacts. I don't need to introduce the Gebelein man. And my PhD dissertation focused on actually trying to check whether or not we can count Gebelein among the predynastic capitals. Well, if we look at Gebelein from a broader perspective, it is a biggest concentration of large, opulent archaeological sites, which do not have equals in the radius of about 30 kilometers around. Also, the settlement structure of that area is typical for important centers, and in the northern part of the Gebelein region, somewhere north of Armand, these two cartouches were found dating to late Predynastic period or early dynastic period, which are mentioning nowhere attested local ruler. Maybe you can speculate that maybe this person was ruling from Gebelein. Also, numerous very opulent, unique artifacts.
If he was ruling from Gebelein, he would have been a ruler with the white crown from Tashama'u, which I argue now we got to start entertaining the theory of two Egypts. Not really, but in order for people to understand that, Tashama'u and Tamahu being two independent places from the perspective of the ancient Egyptian at a certain period of time.
Came from that area, proving the wealth of the local elite, and this wealth probably came from its involvement in the local politics. It's worth to mention these two objects published recently by Stan Hendricks. The figurine on the left, which you can see here, is wearing probably the first attestation of a crown of Upper Egypt. Probably the white figurine, the bigger one, had similar head covering, and such figurines are only found were only found at Abydos and Nagada and Gebelein. And if we will accept that Gebelein was one of the capitals of early Egypt, we'll see that the sites which were important centers, political centers, are located in equidistant locations. Each 50 kilometers there is a site that was most probably capital of proto-state. Is it accidental? Well, I don't think so. What can it mean? If we will approach this from the perspective of Christaller's central place theory, we can suspect that those early centers originated from commerce and trade and good manufacturing centers and trade points that later developed political functions and then became political capitals in time, of course. And now we need to go to the next stop in our journey to the history of Gebelein.
Obviously, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to show the video, but I didn't just want to skip and only show this part. It's a wonderful video, but look. Let's just watch it with caution and understand ethnicity to this person is Nubian and another one is Egyptian. But I would not know if that would be accurate about late 3rd millennium BC, right? So let's see how this works.
The first intermediate period and the ethnic composition of the local population. Nubians were always present in southern Egypt. There was no clear border between Sudan, no clear ethnic border between Nubia and Egypt. People were traveling, going up and down the Nile, and Nubians were settled in southern Egypt for generations. We cannot call them foreigners. They were born there, raised there, they have family there, they were mixing with the local population. However, when we are looking at presence of Nubians in Egypt, we're usually looking at them from ancient Egyptian perspective because they were often depicted in tombs, or as this case, they were subject of models made during the first intermediate period. I would like to bring your attention to those colorful sashes that they are wearing and short kilts. They are very often depicted in various ways with different patterns. This may signalize something that they are not only the generic ethnic marker of Nubian, but also different patterns may refer to different ethnic groups or tribal groups within the broader group of Nubians. There were
tribal groups. That's a good way to put it. Since we've been introduced to the term tribe like it's something negative, some people think tribalism ain't a thing. But there will be particular different tribes amongst one ethnic group that will make you think that if you look at their historical icons, that these are different ethnicities. Now you might have two different tribes fighting that both belong to the same ethnic group, and you try to say that's two different races. That ain't cool.
We're not a monolithic group. Probably they were divided into smaller groups which had various relations with Egyptian state and Egyptian population. There are at least 4 pots that can be related to Nubians and coming from Gebelein, but there is about 30 still dating to the late Old Kingdom and the first intermediate period, and 15, well, about 10 of them are showing Nubians. which is surprising. This is surprising because there is more stele showing Nubians, like these ones over here, than there is pots. This is a very good example of the saying that pots are not people. If those stele would not survive, we will probably be not aware that Nubians were present in this region. Sabina Kubic, who was studying stele coming from Gebelein region, observed that we can distinguish two workshops which were producing these objects. The first workshop was carefully following the Old Kingdom tradition, while the second workshop was more, let's say, novel, more unique, more typical for this region. And Nubians are almost exclusively depicted with their ethnic markers on this stele. What is interesting, well, stele are usually also
so let's stop real quick. Y'all be giving way to people saying those are wigs too much. Watch Sally Ann Ashton, and she says there's a definite way to know when the hairstyle is intended to be seen as a wig or when it was intended to be seen as one's hair. That's what she studies. But oftentimes when we see stuff like that, oh, that's a wig.
By social status markers. Not everyone could afford to have a decorated and inscribed stela. Therefore, we can assume that stele are representing local elite. And since at least 10 stele are representing Nubians, we can assume that about 1/3 of the local elite were Nubians. Also, stele can express, in my opinion, stele are expressing what we want to say to the world about ourselves. Of course, in the context of the deceased. Stele were designed to be exhibited in the accessible parts of the tomb. They were manifestation of wealth, social position, etc. Everything that person or his family or people who ordered such object wanted to say about the deceased. However, things which were stored in the burial chamber, which was not accessible, well, these objects were expressing more intimate and private aspects of a person. And bearing this in mind, I would like to speak today about two tombs which are located in the northern necropolis of Gebelein. First, it is the tomb of Ini, located in the northern part of the eastern section of the cemetery.
What's funny, we was just reading one of Ini text the other day. I don't remember what text that was, but I remember Reggie. If Reggie come on, we was reading the text about Ini, but let's hear about him.
The second one is the tomb of General Iti, the second located in the central part of the eastern limit of that cemetery. The tomb of Ini was discovered and excavated by Virginia Rosa in 1911. We do not know the exact location of the tomb, but thanks to the...
Man, I can't look at none of these icons and wonder why people be arguing about the ethnicity of the ancient Egyptians. It is because we are allowed to parse these people out as they wasn't Egyptians. They was Nubians.
Very good description provided by Rosa. It is possible to reconstruct the appearance of the tomb, at least the hypothetical reconstruction of the form of the tomb, because Rosa provided measurements and locations of rooms, corridors, and artifacts which were found in the burial chamber. And we can actually very well say where each item was set in the burial chamber. I'm currently working with Jakub Stempnik on a reconstruction, 3D reconstruction of that tomb. Of course, this is very preliminary, very tentative reconstruction, which only allow us to have very generic idea about this tomb. The tomb was consisting of 2 rooms. So from the entrance, you were entering to a room with a pillar in its more or less middle. Then on the right-hand side, there was a shaft leading through a corridor, descending corridor to the burial chamber. The burial chamber is very interesting because it is featuring.
Bamsu, I don't know at what time period what you're saying is correct. There may be, I think Mick might be correct. There may be a time period when a tribe was different than an ethnicity or whatever. But in the context of ancient Egypt, we could possibly look at, I'm talking about in the formative states and even during these periods, we could possibly look at everything that we call a known, and I can show you why in the Medu Neter. We could possibly look at everything that we call a known, different tribes. Let me see. Pull up the dictionary. Where it go? There it go. If it want to open. So I'm gonna type a word and see what comes back. I put in the word standard. A standard in this regard is not like what you will or won't go for or whatever. That ain't the type of standard we talk about. Right here, this is the type of standard we're talking about. Now, when we do research into the standard, we start to learn how they were used initially. So that would start to, at the formation of a known or a sapat, right? They would start to take a standard and place what we call the sapat glyph under it. Later, that came a symbol for a known. But if we start to look at all of these individual glyphs, we see a standard is a support bar for cult objects, right? Now watch this. I mean, if you want to get semantic between tribe or clan, that's a cool way out. But I don't mean anything different than clan or tribe when I say it. Them still being of the same ethnicity, but under different standards. Now, that was just a play on words, but literally they are under different standards or cult objects. Now, let me show you this so we can see what I'm talking about. Now, if I go to, I'm going to say Dynasty 00, right? And go to Francisco Raphael's work, or dang, why are they doing it like that? I don't know why the site couldn't be reached. Let me try Dynasty 0. Get another link. There we go. So if we come to his work and then we look at a corpus of palettes, and we can start to see how these standards and insignias was used even in times before what we're talking about. So check this out. On what they call the hunter's palette, we see what you could call a procession of hunters, right? What's up with Sheffrin? I ain't been seeing you streaming lately. What's up? A procession of hunters. The one behind the one with the bow is holding a standard. All right? So we start to learn that this clan or tribe or what have you, this procession of gentlemen are under this standard. If we go back to the dictionary and we see that it says a standard for code objects. That's just a shortened version of it. A standard for code objects. We can start to see on various predynastic palettes that we can now indicate which tribe it was on this palette because of the code object. And you can see on this side, another code object being the falcon, right? Now, if I take you back to the Nome map, we can see the same standard as it developed. Well, let's see. So I have to show you this in multiple ways. So I'm going to show you first a list of those standards with 8. So if the code object of veneration goes on top of the standard, and now we see the Sapat glyph on the bottom of the standard, we kind of can understand the people that venerate this object or whatever are in this area. So I'm going to make it a lot bigger. Right? So the thing that's on top is being venerated because of the standard by these people along this track in this area. This is a Sapat. So this one indicates to us they're talking about the Nome because it's the area of those who, for lack of better words, venerate the bow. Land of the shooters. Taseti. Right? So we come down to the second Nome or area on the map. We kind of like to see something that was indicated on that predynastic palette. We see a falcon on the standard. Now, if you want to talk about ethnicity, you're going to lose. Because the argument would be that, oh, okay, then the people in this group, the second Nome, Behudet, that's why I was like over there when we looked at that Nome, it was the throne of Horus, are a different ethnicity than the people in this Nome. And the people in this Nome is a different ethnicity than the people in that Nome. I wouldn't mount that argument. I would possibly say that they was the same ethnicity. These are the areas we're talking about in the video, Gebelein. Possibly could be of the same ethnicity. Also could possibly be of different African ethnicities. That happens. But of the same ethnicity and different tribal groups. So we could run through a series of the palettes and see that this developed before they indicated locations. Well, at about this time period, even though we might be missing something, I don't want to show it with a piece of the glyph miss. Yeah, here we go. At about this time period, we probably can say we can indicate where these people are because this looks like they're talking about towns. But notice this here. We got 2 falcons on standards, right? Now let me try to pull up my old book that I ain't looked at in a while. So maybe it might not be so readily available. But RMB Ramsey PDF. Oh. PDF. See if this works. And yeah, there we go. All right, cool. The Ramsey PDF. Now, shout out to Bam Sue. Appreciate you for the support of the page and gifting people those memberships. I appreciate that. Now check this out. In this book, what we're gonna see is the development of the Sapat. The development of the Nome glyph. So I don't get to talk about this all the time, and I never did a show on it. But notice all of these, even to Tashama'u here, I don't know how accurate their rendering is, but it has a Sapat glyph on it, which would be what they call gnomes, which would indicate a particular area of one or two gnome marks. Now, somewhere in this book, we can note, and hopefully it's going to be in this, I hope I don't got to go through a series of books. We're going to be able to note, and this is right, because notice I was always tripping off this, even though this is the Ramseum, and Jamil could probably explain this to me. Oh, okay. It's also and the tomb of Ptahhotep. So I was like, why they got the tomb of Ptahhotep in the Ramseum book? But I just answered it for myself. So I think the one we're going to be looking at is actually the tomb of Ptahhotep, because that goes back to the time period we're looking at. And I could probably skip to the end of the book, because I want us to see some of these images. And this might be very close to it, but that ain't it. Because it ain't on the brown page like that. Or maybe this copy got all brown pages. But let me just see if I can pull this up. So many blank pages coming up. I don't know what's going on. Do I gotta wait for the page to populate? Well, anyway, in this book, maybe I'm gonna use the images provided. So I think we will be able to see it here. Or let me go down to see which images are showing up. All right, here's another one, and we gotta remember this is old kingdom. So trying to read the glyphs in the way that we are instructed in Middle Egyptian will probably fail us, but we still can get stuff out of it. So remember, this is the tomb for Ptahhotep. And since we're here, I will be able to show us what we're looking for. If all the pages are showing, I think it's around here somewhere. Well, anyway, in this book, in the tomb of Ptahhotep, they start talking about listing off gnomes or whatever you want to call them, sapats, but they're not doing it in the way that we think they would do it. And at about this time period, it lets us know that what I think it lets us know is that we see the development of the sapat in this time period. I'm not talking about, with the unification, who knows who said what gnome was what. Let me ask y'all an honest question as I look for this. After the unification, how long did it take for all of the gnomes to be set up? Or would you argue they were set up already? Or what's your argument on that? That the people who venerated these certain cultural items or cult items, they say, in these areas just remained in their area, and then there was the people of that sapat. Possibly so. If I can't find this, this is the book. But so many pages coming up blank. Don't wonder what's going on. I know exactly the image I'm looking for. Well, I don't have to spend no time on them others. And if I can't show it, I think we showed enough. I'm gonna have to turn my head to the side to try to see some of that stuff. And we can keep it moving. All these blank pages got me like, that's where it's at. So I'm gonna go page by page. And okay, I wasn't intending on talking about this when I started the video. So I think I'm out of the images, and I guess I gotta find a better version of the book, or find a version that stays online. Sometimes you can see other formats of the book. I want another format. But anyway, I'm cool. I'm out of that. In that book, it shows some of these spots they talking about them, where only half of them got the dome. They got the support glyph on it, and then the other ones they call it the domain. So there's another way to find that text too, and to find exactly what page it's on. If you go into TLA and you look up, even you can look up Senefru, because one of the early domains was not called a Sapat. Up here, when they was talking about the areas up here, they wasn't even calling them gnomes yet. They called Kim the domain of Senefru. Oh, that's how you find it. So watch me show you this. Bow, hella quick. All you got to do is go look up Kim in the TLA. And one of the first entries on Kim which is going to prove everything I said, it ain't even going to be Kim really. It's going to be it's going to say the domain of Senefru, right? So let's see if I can pull that up. I'm tripping. Let me see if I can pull that up. I'm going to just go with the basic Kim. Come down to where it say Kim and then one of the first entries is going to be from this book, the Ramseum. Right? How I know that? Because now look at Kim Now click number 62. Now here go the first one. What I say? Golly. So the first one say, but look, this is the same thing. It says the Great Black, talking about Kim Now they put in parentheses that is the 10th and 11th known. But the text don't say that. And this is in this, look, Master Ba of Ptahhotep. If we look, that's the book we was just looking through. And this is the page I was looking for to show you this in the Medu Neter, that under this Kim there's no Sapat glyph. What there is under that Kim is it ain't nothing under it. On top of it, it say, in the great, now they say it's a great in the dignity of Isis, but look what they put after it. Domain. Now, we got to talk about that. If Isis is the domain, why are they putting these in parentheses? Well, first of all, these parentheses should line up to the Sapat glyph. If they put the glyphs up here, they'd be qualified in putting this because this goggle would go with a Sapat, right? But this domain goes with, if you look at this text, it goes with 049s. It's 3 049s in the Old Kingdom, and they saying it's the domain of Isis. But watch how this works all throughout the Old Kingdom. What I'm talking about is the domains not necessarily, the gnomes, the Sapats, not necessarily being set up yet at this early period in time. And you can clearly see they gonna say the Great Black is the gnome, but the text gonna tell you where the domain to the ancient Egyptian, the domain was called. So it says Great Black in the 10th district. They put that in there in parentheses. Now it says make Kao's food last. Then it says domain. Really, this is a location with 3 049s behind it. So check that out. So now, let's keep going. This is the one I said, Senefru, remember? So now look at this. Senefru, why did they put domain before it's celebrated this time? because the Nefru was the domain. That was the area. Kim Earth, people who venerated the Great Black. You can say however you want to say it, but they got a cow on the standard. We could go all into that deep if you want to. But look, it's a Master Ba from Ptahhotep. So what if we go now, I'm going to show you how you find these sources. Even though this is the new TLA, I want to see if they're going to provide the additional text for you to go look in the books. They should put a bibliography up, but it ain't as easy to find in the new TLA as it is in the old one. I'm just clicking metadata for the text. There you go. You got to click metadata for the text. Now look, F. Griffin, Tomb of Ptahhotep, Jinkoquet, the Ramseum, page 23 through 34. So we could go back to the book and unfumble and bumble and really find it. Let me see. What was the book again? The Ramseum. So you got to see this. Because when you see it, you're going to say, oh, okay. So we'll go to page 23. I was way in the back of the book. And strangely enough, you got to look at the page number in the document and not the page number on the... All right, here we go. So... Also, then they're just going to talk about it. I thought we was going to see the images in these pages. I definitely need you to see the images, but yeah, they just want to talk about it. So now I'm going to go through this one more time. Not all the way, but... Last time I was looking through it, half the pages was blank. All right, well, that's how you find it anyway, because I'm having the same issue with all these pages being blank, and I'm pretty sure it's on one of them pages, because I looked through this before. So anyway, so what did we learn? What do we try to take from that? That in the Old Kingdom, the spots wasn't all the way set all the way up like we think. That's at least what I use that evidence to say. And they even put it on some of them. They put, so here we go. This is just, you can at least see the three 049s that we talking about. That's just a Old Kingdom way of saying plurality, right? It ain't necessarily saying three spots, but we don't see the domain of Seneferu in here. I mean, and this ain't the one I was looking for exactly. I went over this one heck of times. But I can just show y'all the three 049s that they're using when they translate domain. Let me make it bigger. Every time I make it bigger, my page starts to fail me. So anyway, well, let's get back to the video. And you can see that standard in many places used to say we just the people who venerate this from this particular area, this tribe or this clan, without saying we are a different ethnic group. All right, I did enough looking through this book and not finding it. So let's get back to the vid. All right, now bow. I can at least show y'all something, even though this ain't all of it. This is what I need y'all to see. This is an example of it. So in this list, I'm looking for the rest of this procession right here. Right? Now look at this. Here goes a standard on top of a name. Then it has another name with the 049 at the bottom. Damn, we do our homework. If you trying to, I don't care, old kingdom, new kingdom, you're not about to fool me. The question is, what do they want you to think is a location when they wrote this? So this is not the best example because the standard doesn't have anything on top of it. So, but if we keep looking, you see is a row and they all doing the same thing. Now this is Kakai. Who is Kakai? The pharaoh, and this is his domain. Menjefa, as you see the 049 right here, right? This is this person's domain, but on top of their domain, they got the tribe that they rock with in their tribal insignia. Now, again, I told you this ain't exactly, because if we find exactly the one I'm looking for, we will see a whole list of those people. And when you see the Kim Irwins, see these blank pages. What's up with these blank pages? When you see the Kim Irwin, it does not have. Oh, we could do it right. Oh, here we go. Family. Bow. Hands and feet. Hands and feet. You about to get your hands and feet. Let me show you. This is page 107. What I'm looking for to show you exactly. Dang, come on, AI assistant, hide from this document. Now you tell me this ain't that research. What I'm showing us is during the term of Ptahhotep, we got an indication that these nodes wasn't all the way set up in the way that we think. And we definitely can still see that now that each one of these persons, people, are represented by what it says in front of them. Let's look at the first one. I mean, this is the first one I can make. I could go to this hairy, what is this? I mean, you know, however they're doing this, set ear, whatever, but it ain't, clear enough. Right here, we can go show you on that same map. You see this right here? I'll see how big I can make it. I think it's time to snip it now so we can make it even bigger. We just gonna deal with this register right here. And it might not be the one with exactly what I want in it, but it got enough so that we can see what's going on. So in this snip, this is the object of veneration. Not to be confused with Kim Er. And we learned a lot from learning this. This is one tribe that worshipped or that venerated this onyx or whatever you want to call it in this particular fashion. Now, some might try to argue that this is Kim Er, but this ain't Kim Er because I located Kim Er in this text in another place. It might not necessarily be here, but we still see the same thing. A standard with a tribal object on top. No support on the bottom. So this is not indicative of an area. It don't indicate an area. The area is always indicated consistently after the name of whoever's domain it is. This is why in the TLA, they say the domain of is. What does this say in this? Is. I-S-S-I. No matter which direction you read it. Right? Now, if we go back, they try to say that this says something about him being revered or venerated. Because we see a mock, we see this in there. But if you follow the consistency, every time they're going to be putting a 049 to let you know what the domain is. And this ain't all of the ones that was right in the TLA, but we see it happen again. Since this hand of this man is on top of, since the hand of that man is on top of this, they had to put, let me see, I'm trying to take that off. They had to put the standard up here. And it appears this standard got maybe a type of a bolt or something on it. I don't know. But we can match these up with the known map. Now notice, every place, this ain't the location, this the location. So this says Neferant. You see the 049? Everybody would have to agree. So this is before, not really before, but some of the areas that they in is in the north. So it make more perfect sense. Let me prove it. If I find the next page, it's going to really prove it. But notice this. He got the horns, right, and a little bow. He got an object that we don't want to say is the Kim glyph. It ain't. But it's an object under this bull, and this is more of a bull. This is more of a different animal. Now check this out. If there's any truth to this, it should ring true on the map. As I go in big on the map, we're going to focus on these delta areas. We might focus on number 9 through 12, right? And just see the 9, 10, 11. Unfortunately, 12 about to be way over in the cut somewhere. I think it's this one up here, Butu. No, there it go, up here, 12. Now, when I come over here to the names for these areas, watch what happens. All right, so we can start at 6. You see a bull on the standard with the dew mountains on it. With a dew mountain. In order, the way you say mountain in ancient Egyptian is dew. If we go back and look at the map for number 6, right? You can come right here. So now, don't think the area got mountains. The bull is associated with the mountains. And inside of Nome 6, not the bulls was there, but the people who had a veneration of that eventually resided in that area. If we keep going, but notice this too, and I gotta point this out. Everyone we're looking at on this map now has a Sapat, even though this is a map, and so it's going to be a standard and a legend. But they all have this track at the bottom like this, which we call them a Sapat. It indicates that people live in that area. But I'm showing you these same standards at a time period when the ancient Egyptian didn't put the Sapat on it. So let's continue. There go the boat. Remember I said it looked like a boat. See? Now notice how all these people in this procession is coming from the same areas. Well, wait till you see the bull with the horns on it. Don't forget, it's not a bull. It's some other, I think it's the onyx they call it or something. This right here. And also remember the bull with the funny shape in front of it. We just seen the boat, but it should be more than one boat. This boat looked like it got a lady on top. We can clearly see that's now the harpoon on top of the boat now that we see the updated version of it. So we can presume that's that harpoon on the boat, and this is the Western harpoon. So remember, now we see why we got 2 boats, the Eastern harpoon. So if we was even just playing a little game of putting together a puzzle on a table, we'd start to see we got something here. But this one, it get crazy. See that bull and that Kim glyph, which represents black, right? That's the 10th known when we go look over there. But look, we got another bull with just like a femininity egg in front of it, which they just saying Hesbu. We also got Ted and Ter. That's how they saying this. is the name of the location. But we see like an EU and Ka or a small calf and a cow, right? Now, maybe if we go to the next page in this book, we'll start seeing people from other locations. And one place we're going to see is going to say, oh, okay, that's crazy. Because I think when we see Kim R, as they tried to argue, oh, this is Atheba stuff, I just beat the brakes off that. But when we see Kim R on the continuation of that same thing, and look, they was fixing the statue up nice. What we'll see is it didn't have no support glyph on it. So what would that mean? It was just the area of the people who venerated the black bull at that point in time. And nothing like that would indicate a different ethnicity. Thanks for giving me the time to show some of this stuff. And I know someplace deep in my screenshots, I got it, but it was a few years since I opened this book up. And if I don't see the legs of heck people, I'm just skipping past. Because that's what it looked like. Shout out to Brother Reggie in the building. All right, so I'm at the end of that. So, let's see where we left off. I don't know which video I was playing. I think this one. I'll close this one. And I'll get off the screen.
Two burial customs. Already Anna Maria Donadoni Roveri observed that two burial customs were featured in this tomb. In the southern part of the burial chamber, there was the coffin of Ini. He was mummified, placed in typical first intermediate coffin, and surrounded by typical Egyptian items like pottery and funerary models of grain containers. And in the eastern part of the burial chamber, there was a skin of a cow, and on the neck of that cowhide was placed a figurine, actually a sculpture, wooden sculpture, sculpture of Ini, about which we'll speak in a moment. Also, other models were found there, like this one. What is interesting and unique about this model is that we can see here 4 men. We can see that there are men because they're wearing similar kilts. However, 3 of them have yellow complexion, which is typical marker of female gender, and 1 of them has dark red complexion, which is typical for depictions of men. Is this a depiction of gender not binary persons? Maybe not. Maybe this is a reference to their ethnicity, because in ancient Egyptian art, dark complexion was usually referring to people, to Nubians and Libyans, red complexion to Egyptian men, and yellow skin to Egyptian women. But in this case, these 2 colors, red and yellow, were used to mark Nubians and Egyptians working together. And we'll speak about this a little bit later.
So I got a chapter in my book called Black Egyptians, Red Nubians. And it goes exactly what he said. Like, they use red to mark Nubians all the time.
Uh, 'Cause, 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 In this figurine or statue was found on the cowhide near the coffin of Ini, and on the left we can see how it is preserved today. A rather usual object. However, if we look on the right on the image, how this figurine was found, this photo was made at Gebelein during the excavations, and we can see that the upper part of body of Ini is completely black, while the feet are reddish or brownish. Nevertheless, of the original name of the color, we can see that the black paint was applied very carefully. So you can see the sclerae, the white parts of the eyes, not covered by this paint. Also, there is no black stains on the kilt, legs, and pedestal of the figurine. So application of this black paint was not accidental. At some stage, probably during conservation, the black color was removed. Unfortunately, there is no record informing us about any conservation, any removal of this black substance from the statue. However, some black stains still survived on the left arm of Ini. And this use of the colors is, in my opinion, not accidental. Probably Ini wanted to express through furnishing of his tomb that he had.
What else do we learn from this? That some of the statues that we see in red, or this ain't a statue, I don't want to call it that. Some of the icons or figurines that we see that are currently red now could have indeed been black. All that's left is this, look.
Kind of a double or mixed ethnicity. The use of the cowhide in such a way in his burial chamber may signify that he had some Nubian or Kerman ancestry, because in Kerma culture and Nubian culture, deceased were placed in burial pits on skins of cattle, and also they could have been covered by cattle skin. And this may have been a reference to such a burial custom, according to Anna Maria Donadoni Roveri. While such unusual painting of this cast statue was also a reference. He wanted to say that he had both ethnicities. The black color was symbolizing his southern ethnicity, the red one that he also had Egyptian affiliation. Actually, the name Ini is interesting because it's appearing on several.
So his black, no matter what, however they achieved that result, to this scholar, it symbolizes Southern or Nubian ethnicity. But what about when we see Mentuhotep or Nefertari?
Artifacts coming from Gebelein. This is the famous stela of Hekaib and Senet. As you can see, the stela was violated in a very characteristic manner, so the faces were smashed and limbs were kind of cut off from the main body. The autobiography or self-presentation of Hekaib is mentioning that actually this whole artifact was made by his son Ini. Ini is mentioned in the inscription here. And it would be, we should expect that Ini would be depicted in the stela here. However, the hieroglyphic inscription accompanying that person says that this is Iker, which is actually strange. We should expect that son of Hekaib, Ini, will be represented here. This is not the case, or maybe Ini is referred in the text as Ini, but in the depiction is the same. This is the same person, but under his second name or a nickname or something like that, because the word Iker means something like excellent or virtuous. And bear this in mind, because now we will go to the tomb of General E.T. II, who was an army commander in the region. How do we know that this tomb, which was excavated by Rosa in 1911 and dating to the first intermediate period, belonged to Iti and his wife Neferu. First, this wall painting was found in the southern part of a pillared hall, and its western part was damaged to accommodate this stela. This stela is not an original part of the decoration of the tomb. It was actually donated to the owner of the tomb by his brother, whom we can see here. And the inscription says that it was made for Iti and his wife by his brother. However, if we'll take a look at the burial chamber, this coffin was depicted in the burial chamber, and this coffin is containing the body of Ini Iker. We can speculate whether or not this coffin is depiction of a relative or deceased member of the family. I didn't find any analogy for that so far. So if you have any idea how to interpret this, please let me know. Also, in the same tomb, another stela was found depicting 4 soldiers, about whom I will speak in a moment. But let's take a look at the stela of Iti and Neferu. As in the case of the previous stela of Hekaib and Senet, the stela was destroyed in a similar way. So the faces were smashed, limbs were cut off, even the dogs were partly damaged, as you can see, and other persons. This stela, the stela of Hekaib and Senet, and one more stela not coming from Gebelein, were violated in exactly the same manner. The third stela belonged to Iti of Yumiteru. We do not know where exactly Iti of Yumiteru was buried, but he was buried either at Gebelein or at Erizeikat. I think that probably the stela of Iti of Yumiteru actually originally came from the tomb of Iti II, and it was his stela. Although this is a preliminary idea, I'm still working on this. The stela of Iti of Yumiteru from Yumiteru was very probably published. I'm going to see it during my visit to the Museum of Egyptian Civilization soon. Anyway, it's also interesting how the body colors were represented. We can see that brother of Iti II has a dark red complexion, while Iti and his wife has kind of fairly white or bright skin, or the paint didn't survive. It's hard to say, is it the result of preservation or it was a deliberate thing? It may have been deliberate thing if we will take a look at other stelae, but this in a moment. There is, as I said, about 30 stelae coming from Gebelein. It is possible to make a tentative or hypothetical reconstruction of genealogy of some of the people represented on this stelae, because the names are repeated in various texts. So, for example, this stela from Berlin belonged to the soldier named Kedes. His mother was Ibeb, and his father was Iti. Kedes has his son also named Iti.
I had to put Free Papagini on timeout for 10 minutes. He wasn't contributing nothing but stupid shit.
It's possible, it's only speculation, but this Iti, son of Kedes, is our general Iti II, who was married to Neferu. We know nothing about their offspring. The name Ibeb doesn't sound really Egyptian. It sounds more Nubian, and maybe this whole play with the skin colors may be a reference to a double or mixed ethnicity of this family.
So we get it, right?
Also, they may have been relatives of Ini Iker, and therefore we can see that the local elite was of mixed ethnicity. And when we will take a closer look at the stela about which I was saying before, that is the stela found in the tomb of Iti II, we can see that there are 4 men. They're wearing typical men garments, holding bows and arrows, but they have different skin complexions. As I said, the yellow skin was typical for men, dark red for yellow for women, red and dark red for Egyptians and men and Nubians.
All right, man. I'm tired of this thing saying and my computer is operating on low memory, and then I go clean out some data, and the next day it say the same thing. I cleaned out about 6 gigs the other day, and the next day it say the same thing. So I can't figure that out. What I got to though, I might just wipe this computer. I mean, what's on it? I could put all my data on my other drive. And I'm about to start this computer over. I'm tired of that. Because now I'm trying to open up the Zoom. The Zoom is telling me your device is running on low storage. Free up some space to avoid interruptions. I'm going to just make this thing crash. Let me see. Oh yeah, I ain't trying to put no camera in there. Let me share this link. I ain't even tripping. If the Zoom go dead on me, I'm gonna start my whole computer over. I mean, I'm gonna just reset it to the beginning. If I can save on my data, forget, I got a lot of apps and stuff that I intended on using and never used. So I'm gonna get them up out of here. Get them up out of here. I'm trying to share this link right now. Let's see if Zoom rocking with me. Shout out to Bam Sue for contributing to the channel today. And anyone else who didn't, let me see. Who done hit the Cash App and I ain't seen y'all already. I appreciate y'all. Y'all be the ones who help the channel grow. Man, I looked at some the other day. I had a list of just a bunch of subscriptions that I had purchased. I'm about to go cancel all of them. But it just be research I'm doing to run my show and to be having stuff to show. But subscriptions will put hands on you. Don't look up and be about to do something, subscription, bam, it just hit you. Can't wait. Say he messed that red black part up for sure. See if somebody got time to hit that link. It's probably my Zoom not letting nobody in. Or whatever, something like that. Let's see if we can get this popping. Brother Reggie. Give him a moment. Set things up. Shout out to 60 people in the building. What's up? Oh, you know what? Someone had let me see, man. All right, let me look. All right, I'm about to get off. Hold on, let me see. Let me see some calendar. What's up, Reggie? Reggie. Reggie, your mic ain't working? Hold up. Yo.
What's goody?
Hold on. I thought you said 4 o'clock. Hold on, my bad. Okay, look, I'm going to end this